Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had a really great and amazing week. And for those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, welcome back. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time on this network. Welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment, and we are here every Tuesday live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. And for those of you who are watching the replay of this on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube page, thanks so much for tuning in as well. Be sure to like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel. And thanks for those who are starting to join here. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. And for those of you who have been rocking with Mental Health Moment for the past couple years here, you know that I am generally in some city or another. Today, I am in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, and I have been mostly in the Tampa Bay area of Florida for a little bit. And then, the next couple months, I'll be out and about in the world doing different projects. But thanks again for those who are joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your Mental Health Moment. If you're new to Mental Health Moment is about how do you become the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for those around you. So every single week we have practical tips that you can use, different strategies. How do you grow as a person physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? How do you work again on being the best version of who you are, right? Because you deserve that for yourself, and so do the people around you. So in whatever capacity that you in whatever capacity that you help others, maybe it's your own family members, maybe it's friends, maybe it's coworkers, maybe it's the community, whomever it is, it's really, really important to think about how do you become the best version of who you are. And thanks again for those who are starting to join here. Hopefully my comments will be coming in here soon. I hate when for some reason, I don't know, there's like been glitches lately, unfortunately, technical glitches, but still let me know in the comments here and where you're tuning in from. And sometimes it just comes in late, but I like to read you guys' comments. But again, thanks so much for joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment for those of you just tuning in. So on today's mental health moment, and I do know because you guys have told me over time that some of you are jotting down notes on mental health moment, which is all good. That's great. I'm a note taker too. So maybe you're jotting down notes, or maybe you're listening to this on a drive somewhere or wherever it is, whatever part of the world you're listening to this. Maybe it's your morning or afternoon or evening, but nonetheless. So on today's mental health moment down, there's not too much to jot down, but this is really important for you to think about because on today's mental health moment, I want to share with you how important it is to think about your time management. So we actually talked about this topic a couple of months ago. The months are starting to blur here. But sometime this year, in the last couple months, we talked about time management, but I really want to do almost a part two because it was something that, people were reaching out to me actually and saying like, hey, can you do something on time management? Because understandably, sometimes there's just so much going on. And maybe you're in this boat where you're just feeling so overwhelmed. Maybe you're stressed out. Maybe you're feeling like you don't have enough time. But the good news is that there are strategies that can help you with the overwhelm, that can help you with the time management. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. And again, thanks so much for tuning in here. Still can't see those comments yet, but hopefully they'll come in soon. And if for some reason I can't today, just know that I still appreciate you being here. I love to read where you guys are tuning in from, but again, sometimes there are technical glitches, but the show must go on. So I'm still going to provide the strategies for you today. So the first thing I want you to think about, there's two really important things when it comes to time management. So the first thing is, because everyone, I know you've heard it before, right? Like prioritize your time and prioritize what's meaningful for you. But here's the reality. Step one, you first have to decide what is really important to you at this point in your life. So again, what is important to you today can be different from what was important to you 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or what's going to be important to you in the next 5 to 10 years. Like that's just the reality, which is why I preach on mental health moment about how important it is for you all to be making sure that you're reflecting, you're taking the time for you to understand what is important for you. So, so the first thing to think about before we get to time management strategy, the first thing to think about is what truly is important to you right now. Like what is the thing that you want to prioritize, and where are you at in your own sense of self and your own sense of growth and your own mindset and the changes that you need to make. Where are you at with that? Right? You might be in a really great place, or you might be in a place where, like, you know what, I'm struggling physically, or I'm struggling emotionally or spiritually or mentally, or wherever it is that you're kind of a little bit stuck, right? So step number one, and I would ask you to put it in the chat. You can still put it in the chat. I just might not be able to see it, unfortunately, but let me know in the chat, for you right now, if you were to say like, hey, here's the top three things that I prioritize, what would those be? Right. And maybe I will be able to see them and maybe I won't. But nonetheless, so so first thing about that. The second thing that you can think about, and even jot this down, because this is a really important question for you to be asking yourself frequently. This is something I personally, oh, I can finally see the comments. Yay! Good evening from Boston. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why lately the comments wanted to come in a little bit later and like trickle in versus before I would see all of you all's comments. But nonetheless, so this is a question that I often ask myself now, and I encourage you all to think about asking yourself this question when you come to a place where you're like, what should I be doing? How should I be spending my time? Right? Because a lot of things and people are like trying to grab out our time, right? There's a lot of demands on our time sometimes, oftentimes. Actually, let me turn this off. Okay. There's a lot of demand. Speaking of demands on our time, that was so timely, right? My text message going off. Speaking of demands on our time, but nonetheless, we have to make a decision. And the question that you should be asking yourself often is this a good use of my time? That is literally a question that I want you to like etch into your brain and think about. Is this a good use of my time? Let me see if I can, well, is good of my time. Okay, I am going to put this in the comments, even though um, I don't know if you guys can see it on your end. If not, someone just jot it in the comments yourself, like type it in, because on my end, for some reason, the comments are acting a little funky today. But this is a very critical question. Here's the thing. So I, as a psychologist and a mindset coach and all the different things I do, I'm always looking at, and the things that I, share with you all on Mental Health Moment as well. I'm always looking at, how does change happen, right? How do we change our mindset? How do we become a better version of ourselves? How do we grow? Well, one of the things that need to happen is we have to change our habits. So I was just reading, actually today, I was just reading a study about habits, and they were talking about how it actually, there's this myth that to change your habits, it takes 21 days. I don't know if you've heard that before. I think I remember hearing that growing up, actually, like, oh, in 21 days, you can magically change and change your habits. But what they found recently is that's actually a myth. And the reality is it could take like, they did one study where it showed it could take like 2 to 8 months to change your habits. Hopefully it doesn't take you 8 months. And hi from Virginia. Thanks so much for joining here. Hopefully it doesn't take you that long, but on average, they were finding it actually takes about 66 days. The reason why this is important is because when you really start to use questions for yourself, like, again, asking yourself, is this a good use of my time? Please, 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 please don't think you're going to change your time management for the better with asking yourself once or twice or three times, right? It doesn't, typically, it's not going to become a habit that fast. And again, according to the research, I'm just sharing the research here, it's on average, it's like 66 days. Now, it could take you a faster amount of time or a longer amount of time. It just depends. We're all different. But just know these are different strategies. A lot of strategies I teach actually on Mental Health Moment are things for you to start thinking about implementing, but knowing that it takes time. It just does, right? So as I mentioned before, I use this strategy often personally, I use this. Even today, there typically is so many different things that is trying to grab my attention, whether it's an email or just now, like you guys saw it, I did not plan that, right? It's a text message or someone needs something or something is happening or someone's inviting me to something or whatever it is. And I know you all have the same exact things, right? Whether it's your family, your coworkers, your friends, your whomever, there's all these different things. Maybe you're on social media a little bit too long. I know I'm guilty of that sometimes, or whatever it is that is just grabbing at your attention. You have to get yourself in the mode of asking, is this a good use of my time? So today, for example, when I had different invitations to just different things going on, and today I had to ask myself, is this a good use of my time? And some of those things that were trying to get into my schedule, I had to say, no, actually, this is not a good use of my time because I need to be doing this over here instead. Right. So again, trying to get yourself into the habit of doing that, not only do you honor yourself, right? Because again, step one was to know what your values are, whatever your values are. And then step two is asking yourself, is this, whatever it is that's trying to get your attention, a good use of your time, right? Is it helping you grow as a person? Is it helping you reset, recharge? Is it bringing you joy? Is it helping you towards your goals? Like what is the purpose of whatever it is that you're doing or different interactions that you may have with others, right? Is it helping you basically, or is it helping someone else? Is it a good use of your time? So yesterday, yeah, geez, the weeks have been just flying by here. So I'm like, what day am I on here? It's always Tuesday on Mental Health Moment, or Tuesday evening for me. And of course, depending on where you are in the world, it might be Wednesday morning or some other time. But nonetheless, so yesterday I went to volunteer at a food bank, and it was such a great use of my time because this is just an aside. I know we're talking today about time management, but I did want to share that in that time, spending time in the community and volunteering at this food bank, it really helped that spending that time with those, spending the time thinking about others, right? Spending the time volunteering, spending the time giving back was a really actually good distraction from just the woes of life and just the different things and the stress and all those things that we all have. So, as an aside, giving back is always great for your mental health. But I share that because I really had to ask myself, is this a good use of my time? And it absolutely was. And it helped, well, it helped in multiple ways to give back. But sometimes we don't know if things are a good use of our time until we're actually in those situations, right? Maybe you've been in that situation. Maybe it's at work. You're like, man, I really didn't need to be in this meeting, right? Like it wasn't a great use of your time. And some things, to be fair, some things you can control and some things you cannot, right? So there's just certain meetings that if you're working and you have meetings that you can't control, but you're supposed to be there and you're like, well, that was a waste of time. But you weren't able to control that. Definitely, I'm not talking about those type of things, obviously. So I'm talking about what are the things that you can control. What are the parts of your schedule that you can control, and is that a good use of your time? So, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned it last week or the sometime in the last couple weeks on Mental Health Moment. One of the things that is a very, very high priority for me right now in my life is definitely physical health. So, when I have to make some adjustments on my schedule to make sure that I'm working out, I'm doing the workouts that I need, I'm making sure to take care of my physical health because that's a high priority. Then the other things that would have tried to interfere with that time, I have to say, okay, that's not really a good use of my time right now because instead I'm going to spend this time working on my physical health, right? So again, it's really all about, yes, prioritizing. Hi from sunny California. Welcome, welcome. It's really all about number one, making sure you know what your priorities are for you. And then number two, asking yourself if you're in this boat where you're overwhelmed and you have a lot of different things coming at you, is this a good use of my time, right? So I want you to all to remember that today. And thanks for those who are still starting to tune in here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I literally can see only a couple of comments, unfortunately, because they are slowly trickling in. as opposed to normally when I could see all of your comments. So for the couple of comments I can see, thanks for tuning in from Boston, Virginia, California. Thanks so much for tuning in, and all of you all that I cannot see your comments. Thanks for tuning in, of course, as well. But that's one of the things I wanted to share with you today when we're thinking about time management. I'm trying to break down time management for you all because again, I'm getting questions about time management, so that's why I'm bringing it to Mental Health Moment. But I want to break it down as easy as I can for you all and make sure that it's very practical, because it can be complicated if we make it complicated, but also there's steps that we can put into place, right? And the biggest thing, like anything when it comes to your mental health and wellness, is your consistency. Things can't become a habit if you're not consistent with it. So again, asking yourself that question, even if you have to kind of say it out loud, like, okay, is this a good use of my time? And at first, before something becomes a habit, you're very conscious of like remembering to say that. But the good news is, after a while, when this does become a habit for you and it becomes more like just internal, like that's just how you live, right? To be like, oh yeah, is it a good use of my time? Like you'll see your time will, we all still have 24 hours in a day, but your time will look different to you because you will be in control of your time versus you feeling like you're so overwhelmed, there's not enough time in the day and all those sorts of things. It's really truly about prioritizing though. And making sure that you know what is important to you and you are choosing the things that you can choose to shift, if you will, with your schedule. So okay, so I want to remind you all briefly the Get to Worthy Summit really quickly before I wrap up here. So gettoworthysummit.com is going to be on May 24th and May 25th in Philadelphia. It's right here on the screen. But I will be speaking there. I'm super excited to be there. It's going to be hosted by a dear friend of mine, Nate Evans Jr., who is absolutely incredible. You should follow him if you are not following him already on Instagram. Nate Evans Jr. He is so awesome, so phenomenal. Proud to call him a friend. He does a lot of amazing things in the mental health space. So he's throwing, not throwing, but he's hosting and a summit about emotional health and mental health and wellness. And again, how to grow, right? To be a better version of yourself. So that's in Philadelphia. I'll be there, as I mentioned. If you want to register for that, it's at gettoworthysummit.com. And you can use my promo code Hammond10 to get a discount off that ticket. If you do end up there, let me know. Please be sure to swing by and just let me know you're here for Mental Health Moment, which would be super awesome to meet some of you all. And if you need me before next Tuesday, you can always go to drnikishahammond.com. Before you know it, like literally next week, it will be Mental Health Awareness Month, which is one of my favorite months of the year, of course. So next month, I will have really amazing things to share with you all and some announcements. Some of you probably know what it is, but nonetheless, I'll have some great announcements next week. Or next month, I should say, for Mental Health Awareness Month, as well as more ways for you to think about growing your mindset and becoming a better version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for those around you. So with that being said, I am going to wrap up. I'm so sorry that I couldn't see a lot of your comments. I love answering your questions and seeing like all the places you guys are tuning in from, but I cannot control, unfortunately, some of these technical things that happen. But thanks so much for tuning in. I'm super proud of each and every one of you watching. I'm super proud that you take the time for you to grow as a better person. Like it truly does. When you show up in the world in a better place, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, you show up in a healed place for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your community. Like it really does make a difference. So I'm super proud of you. Thanks for being here. I will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. So I will see you all next week. Be blessed. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye, you guys.